If there's one thing you need to know about the 2019 Carmen Sandiego Netflix cartoon, it's that the titular character, usually framed as the villain of the story, is now the heroic protagonist. And while you might think that this is a complete betrayal of what the franchise is built upon, I actually think that it works really well. Like, it's probably the most obvious thing you could do to move the Carmen Sandiego series forward into a new generation of storytelling potential.
La Femme Rouge!
From the original computer game to the board game to the television game show and the 90s cartoon series, the narrative has generally been structured around thwarting the villainous crime network Vile, led by Carmen herself, and answering the question, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? While it's an effective method for teaching kids geography, the problem is, this setup means that most of your time is spent watching all these Acme detective characters, and less time getting to actually see Carmen in action. Like, the whole reason why people engage with a narrative called Carmen Sandiego is to see Carmen Sandiego. So by making her the protagonist of her own story in the Netflix cartoon, Carmen gets much more screen time and becomes the central focus of a dramatic narrative. This time, she's not just a major plot point, she's even more of an actual character. Once again, Carmen Sandiego is a master thief stealing artifacts from across the globe, but rather than stealing them for an evil organization that she's in charge of, this time she's stealing to protect them from an evil organization that she's actively fighting against. Instead of a mystery-solving detective story, it's a heist narrative, where Carmen is still breaking the law, but for righteous causes as a noble thief motivated by empathy, as well as a love of artwork and culture. She's a criminal, but that doesn't make her a bad person, just like how there are criminals in the real world who aren't necessarily bad people either. While the 2019 series may have made a lot of changes to the mythology, there's still a lot that remains the same, and as a result of these changes, the old stuff has actually become even more interesting. Carmen is still being pursued by the Acme Detective Agency, but because they don't know her true intentions, certain heist missions become dramatic three-way conflicts, where Acme can either be an ally or antagonist to Carmen depending on the situation. The series includes characters from the TV shows, alongside computer game characters like Julia Argent, as well as Chase Davino. And although Davino might be a bumbling oaf instead of the seasoned veteran he was in the computer games, this way it becomes all the more significant when he finally gets his act together and grows into the role that he's known for. Instead of being Acme agents, 90s protagonists Zach and Ivy are now Carmen's accomplices that still have a major role in the episodes. The character design for Acme's chief is based upon the likeness of Lynn Thigpen, the iconic host of the Carmen Sandiego game show, and the player is now an actual character within the show's universe as opposed to a literal live-action person, which kind of makes the series feel like a spiritual successor to Kim Possible. See, the 2019 cartoon isn't rejecting the history of the Carmen Sandiego franchise, it's embracing it, combining all these different characters from multiple stories into a cohesive narrative that, in my opinion, feels more interesting than anything else that came before it. However, as much as I enjoy this new cartoon, there's still a lot of things that I would have personally done differently in the execution department. I really think that Zach and Ivy's origin story should have been part of Season 1, Season 3 should have had more dramatic setbacks for the heroes, and the geography lessons make a lot more sense when it's one character briefing or explaining things to a less informed character, rather than arbitrary trivia between two characters who already know what they're talking about. Also, since Carmen doesn't really have a concrete reason as to why she doesn't just tell Acme about Vile when she first begins meeting them, I would have made it so that Carmen at least thinks that Acme is a different branch of Vile, or something to demonstrate more of a reason as to why Carmen doesn't actively try to inform people about their villainy. Honestly, I'm even kind of wondering what it would be like if there was a big plot twist where it's revealed that Acme is secretly being controlled by Vile, similar to how I view law enforcement in the real world as essentially being controlled by wealthy supervillains who can do whatever they want with no consequences, like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. But then again, since that might sound a little too much like an Illuminati conspiracy in the context of this show, and I don't want people to get the wrong idea, maybe the concept of a villainous Acme organization would be better suited for a live-action Carmen Sandiego origin story movie, where she becomes disillusioned with upholding the status quo and still becomes a heroic thief to steal colonized artifacts from Western museums under the intent of returning them to their rightful cultures. When it comes to the idea of Carmen being a hero, there are plenty of different narrative avenues that are just waiting to be explored. You might say that the new Barbie doll character design is a bit of a downgrade from the more muscular physique that previous Carmen designs had, or that Gina Rodriguez's voice acting sounds like she's constantly making the DreamWorks face, but the very premise of turning Carmen Sandiego into the main protagonist is a legitimately good idea, and I really hope that this concept continues to be present in future narratives as long as the franchise continues. The Netflix cartoon isn't just a great series in its own right because of its dramatic twists, character development, or its unique art style. It's a great series because it breathes new life into the franchise and makes me excited for the future of Carmen Sandiego.